welcome to the first Audiosode of Rise with Education. I'm pretty excited. I don't know about you guys. I'm pretty sure that you're also excited. We've been waiting for this for a long time. And not only is it exciting because it's our first Audiosode, but it's also exciting because of the guest that we have with us today. Now, give you a brief introduction of what we're going to be talking about today. It's nothing but machine learning, jobs, and webinars. Okay. Now, this might become a long session. So what we're planning to do is we're going to divide the sessions into 3 different videos. So you guys can go and check that out. And now, without any further ado, hi everyone. My name is Arfa Pare, and let's get to our let's get to our guest, who's none other than Rohan Sawant. Hi Rohan, are you online?
Yep, I am. Hi.
Hi Rohan, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm just staying indoors and learning how to cut my hair. I'm getting good at it.
Okay. Yeah, Rohan was actually telling me quite recently that I think he'll become a master in the military cut, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so it'll be his signature style, So anyone wants any military cut, just go to Rohan Sawant. He's the guy for you. Rohan, now before anything else, why don't you introduce yourself to our listeners?
Hey guys, I'm Rohan. I currently work as a software engineer at SmartCow, which is an AI engineering company. And I primarily work with Python. I also design some of the infrastructure and, just a lot of software development stuff. And SmartCow is an AI company. So, that is what we are doing. And pretty fun stuff.
All right. Okay. So you guys have like a brief introduction about him. But Rohan, could you maybe tell us that, we've said we're going to be interviewing you about machine learning, jobs, and webinar. So according to you, why do you think at student level, you're the right person to approach for these 3 things?
When I got started, I made a ton of mistakes and I wasted a lot of time. So when starting out in a field as vast as AI or software in general, I think it is easier to learn from someone who has spent a lot of time beating around the bushes to, finally have a basic rudimentary understanding of how the entire field works and how the AI thing works. It's helpful if you have someone like that. And I have been around the block a couple of times. So I started software development when I was, I think I was 14. I worked for it was not a real company. I worked for a friend of mine for about 8 months. We built something, it did not work. Then I worked for another company for about 8 months, 9 months. It did not work. Then I freelanced around a little bit. And after that, I was finally able to get where I am. And that was because I was extraordinarily lucky. I mean, I did a couple of right things, but the circumstances, chance, I don't know. I'm struggling for the word here, but you get the idea. So yeah, I guess learn from my mistakes and my journey. Maybe, yeah.
That is actually.
Does that answer it? Does
that
answer it?
Yeah, I mean, it does to an extent. Yeah, actually. And what you've said is actually right, that, you learn more from your personal mistakes and experiences. So, yeah. All right. So now, guys, are you guys ready for ML, the first segment of our Audiosode? Are you ready, Rohan?
Yep, I am.
Okay. So beginning with the first question, all right? And it's none other than, what in the world is machine learning? What is ML?
Okay. So machine learning is basically teaching computers how to do stuff. That is all there is to it. So the first step of machine learning is you give the computer some data. And so we are trying to, if we were trying to teach a computer how to recognize a dog, then we would feed the computer images of dogs. And then the computer, that is our algorithm or our machine learning model, will understand how the fluffy ears look, how the nose is, and how they look. And then after it learns from seeing a bunch of dog images, it will be able to classify dogs. That is, it will be able to look at a bunch of images and understand which of those are dogs. So that is machine learning AI in a nutshell, a high level overview of what those are.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that explains a lot about machine learning. But now, Rohan, a lot of people out there are kind of confused between what is the difference between AI and machine learning. Some people think it goes hand in hand, but if I'm not wrong, they're two different things.
Yeah, they kind of are and they are not. So machine learning is um, a sector, and deep learning is an AI. Okay, so AI is the bigger pie, and machine learning is part of that pie. It is a slice of that pie. And then you might have also heard about deep learning, and that is
Yes.
even smaller portion of that pie. So what artificial intelligence is, what we just talked about, teaching computers to do human stuff, that is artificial intelligence. Then machine learning is a subset of artificial intelligence. And in practice, when you are working with these technologies, there is rarely a moment when you distinguish between them. I mean, you don't really need to define these ever, except in interviews. In when you are working practically with those, you just go with the flow. No one asks you the definitions of things. You can just get right to it. Yep.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that kind of makes sense, what you're saying. And, coming to the next question, like, why do you think that AI and ML that you said go hand in hand? Why are they making such a big wave in the industry? Why are these things why are they creating such a big hype?
So I think you answered your own question. Why are they so important? Because we are creating such a big hype. That is why those are important. It is the same thing which happened with blockchain, with Java, with web development, with HTML, and with C++ in the 70s. It's the same thing all over again. But yeah, so to explain the importance of deep learning and machine learning, it all started in the I think in the 2000s, the early 2000s to mid 2010s, when we started creating this massive amount of information. So you had your Facebook, you had your Twitter, you had your Google, and all of these services were collecting massive amounts of information from you. And then we needed something to make sense of that information and to get insights from that data. So uh, every time we travel somewhere, our phone records hypothetically, every time we travel somewhere, our phone records how long it took for us to reach that destination. So Google Maps might, I'm not saying this is how it works, but it could work like this. So Google Maps might have 1,000 rows data set of information about the travel times between a point A and point B. Then it might also have satellite images, or it might also have traffic data, and it can draw some correlations between all of these factors. That is the travel time, then the weather, the traffic, and then it is able to generate insights. That is, it is able to tell you how long it will take for you to reach that point from A to B. And coming back to the previous burst of data and how it started, and this is where they go hand in hand. So you had this um, massive revolution of data, the data revolution, and you were creating terabytes of data per person per day, right? And we needed something to make sense of it, and something to build things which will be useful out of that data. And that is where deep learning, machine learning, and artificial intelligence came from. So yeah, so we have the data revolution and then the deep learning to make sense of that data and to build products using that.
Okay, and in a way, you could say that life has become a bit simplified by the tools that are created by utilizing machine learning, deep learning.
Yeah, to some extent, yes, and to others, no. It has become way more complicated.
Or you mind telling us how? Like, we'd
Oh,
really like to
okay.
know. Yeah.
Okay. So everything you do online right now, including this call, someone knows about it. Uh, Zoom knows about it. Google knows about it because you sent me a email on Gmail, and uh, WhatsApp probably knows about it, but then it is end-to-end encrypted, so we wouldn't know. So I'm just saying that they are collecting. That is the big corporations, are collecting massive amounts of data on us, and it is used in ways we don't know, or ways we can't comprehend, or even they can't comprehend. So in a way, everything you do online, in your Chrome window, for example, hypothetically, uh, is recorded, right? From your YouTube history to your Google searches to your Twitter feed. Someone is collecting all of this information. So things which were previously in bubbles are now interlocked with each other. And that is where the complications, or that is where the complexity arises. So in a way, things are way easier, and mm, we are technologically, we are at a much better place than we ever were in history, and it is a remarkable time to be alive. But at the same time, it is pretty complicated and scary as well. Yeah.
We'll, I guess, move on to the next question. And that is none other than, but how would you rate these skills, machine learning, AI? As in, how necessary do you think that it is for one to have these skills? Do you think that without these skills, no one can be a good engineer or survive in today's world? What are your views?
No, that is not the case. These technologies are hyped, and that is why they are popular. I mean, it is a good to have, and you will get good salaries with this. But if you don't have this, it is not a deal breaker. You can still be a great software developer with just Python, with just Node, or with anything you are doing. As long as you are good at what you are doing and you love it, and you are better than 90% or 80% of people at it, because you love it, I think you can be a good engineer without these as well. But yeah, it is pretty, it is the shiny new thing in town, right? So yeah, it is pretty great and important. Yep.
So moving on to the next question we have is that what do you think is the right time? And I'm not only talking about age, but also the right experience. Basically, the right time to start learning about ML and getting a career in ML. So what do you
So the
think?
right time So the right time for starting with ML would be once you have some basic programming experience and a rudimentary understanding of mathematics. If you are okay with it, then you can start anytime you want. You don't have to wait till you are done with your degree, or you don't have to wait till you are out of your school. You can start it whenever you have your basics down. That is the basics of programming.
Okay, so this is for both learning and also starting a career in ML?
Yes, absolutely. So once you start learning ML, then you can build projects with it. You can build small apps with it, which you can show to your recruiters. And once you do that, so getting a career in it would mean doing an internship, right? So once you have some projects, once you have, say, 3 or 4 projects, you are already standing out from the competition, right? So at that point, you can get an internship. It can be a remote internship. Many people are offering those, and that is when you start a career. So once you have the basics of programming down, you spend the next, I would say, 6 months to 12 months, about a year, learning about ML, and then you build projects when you are working with ML, and those projects get you into jobs. That is uh, the simplified version of the entire pipeline to getting a job in AI
The
or ML.
roadmap to
Yeah.
becoming a machine learning developer?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
So then, Rohan, you probably know about this. What are the prerequisites to, learning ML, or I don't know, starting ML? What are the prerequisite
Hmm.
skills?
So to get started with ML, as I said, you need some basic understanding of mathematics, and most importantly, you need um, some basics uh, programming knowledge, and that is with Python. So most of the things we do in ML is with Python. We were also trying to use R for a little while before, but now we're just sticking to Python for the most part. Yep. So prerequisites of machine learning would be Python, and basic understanding of maths, and you're good to go.
Okay, all right. So now, Rohan, we'd like to come to you. Now, I want to ask you about your journey with ML. Like, when was the first time you heard or came to know about ML?
So the first time I heard about ML was when I was preparing for my prelims back in 10th grade. I was up and I was pretending to study, and I was browsing YouTube, and they had this 3-minute video about artificial intelligence, ML, and deep learning. And it talked about how it explained the dog and cat example, the dog example, which we just talked about, right? So it explained how machine learning works. So you take bunch of dog images, you show them to a computer. The computer learns what a dog looks like from these images, and then it is able to recognize dogs. And that was mind blowing to me. I mean, I had goosebumps in my stomach when I first heard about AI, and that was when my journey started. After that, I I completed the Stanford University course on Coursera by Andrew Ning. I completed that course, and that was very difficult for me. It was very mathematically heavy, and that is something which I'm not really good at. I'm okay with it, but I'm not good at it. And I completed that course, and it was, I think at that time it was an 11-week course. So that was my first course in AI. I completed that. After that, I just went all over the place. I did a few Udemy courses, and yeah, I did a couple of things wrong. So when I was doing the Udemy courses, I just focused on getting that certificate and completing those courses. And I completed about 2 or 3 of those Udemy courses in about a month, but I was not able to grasp the knowledge completely. So I let AI and ML be by itself for a while, and I picked it up again after about 3 months. And I watched a YouTube video by uh, hmm. So there was this guy, and he was trying to make a bot. He was trying to make an AI to drive cars in GTA San Andreas or GTA 5, that is Grand Theft Auto 5. That is a game. So it is a pretty popular game. So he was trying to make a bot to drive cars in GTA 5. And I used to watch that when I was in 10th grade. And I just wanted to build something like it. So I started. Um, and that was my first real AI ML Python project. And I built a bot which could drive cars around in the game. Mm, I used GTA San Andreas for it, and I think it is still up on my GitHub. And I built that bot, and my journey just started from there. And from there, I went on to build several projects. I completed a few more courses. I completed the um, Coursera deep learning specialization, and that was very useful. I did that, and I just kept on building things. And at some point, I caught eye of my current boss. He saw my projects on GitHub, and he reached out to me, and I got my lucky break. So that was how it started.
I must say that is actually, it is very insightful. I don't know if that's the right word to use, but yeah, it is. I mean, it gives like that. This was how the journey went, and that, I don't know. I really found it very, very inspiring. You could say, or I don't know,
Yeah.
but yeah. Okay, well, congratulations to you. I mean, that's really good achievement. Now, Rohan, what do you think? I mean, the next question is actually asked Rohan ki what motivated him in the first place, but I think your answer quite answers that already. So I just want to ask you
Yeah,
ki,
yeah.
right now, all this
Hmm.
while, I mean, these courses you went
Hmm.
through and all, but till
Hmm.
now, to this day,
Hmm.
what keeps you motivated, to just do ML and AI?
So I'm not motivated to do ML and AI. I am motivated to build software, and I think uh, I like the things which I'm trying to build need AI for them to work. And that is just simply my love for creating things. I like to build stuff, right? So that is what keeps me going. It is not really field specific or sector specific. It is just I like to build things, and I use AI, and that goes hand in hand.
Yeah, that actually makes sense, and I'm pretty sure that a lot of people out there will find that very relatable. Then and thank you for sharing that with us. But moving on to the next question, Rohan, is that do you have any particular resources that you would like to recommend to our viewers that can refer to? First, for learning ML, second, for practicing ML, and third, for like utilizing tools in the ML job.
Okay, so for learning ML, the best place to start would be hands down Coursera. Start with their machine learning, Stanford University, Andrew Ng course. After you complete that, start with their deep learning specialization. And after you're done with it, you have the basics down, and then focus on what you want to build. I'll try to stick to the question. So the question is, what resources or sites you should use. So after you are done with these three courses of two courses on Coursera, you can move to YouTube, and you can start searching for YouTubers whom you admire, and these would be people who build things with AI. So one of these would be the guy who built a GTA 5 car, and that was the one for me. And then for a long time it was Siraj Rawal. He's a YouTuber as well, and the GTA 5 guy is named Sent Dex. I just remembered. So YouTube was a great resource for me to learn new things, and everything is, you know, there for free. So you can just pick anything you want. And the next would be Udemy. And the reason for that is the courses are really well structured and it is pretty cheap. It is not super expensive like Coursera, so you can get started with it. And another important point I would like to add here is, when I started with my Coursera courses, I always applied for financial aid. And I applied for financial aid for my first course, then for my deep learning specialization, and for all of those four courses. So I was essentially able to get all of my education for free. It is just sheer willpower. Uh, or if you want to do it, you can do it. And I wanted to do it. So it's pretty simple. And I would suggest you don't spend too much money on education, because most of the things are free. You should not need to pay for education. I mean, you should. So people are currently selling courses and they are trying to get you into webinars for thousands of dollars, thousands of rupees. And there are tons of free resources available. Just stick to those. Don't spend a ton on courses. Yeah, so that was the websites and the apps part. And for practicing ML, so I think with ML, you will mostly work with Python. So that is like one tool. Then after you graduate to bigger projects, you might start using the Jupyter notebooks. So this is kind of like an IDE. It is not an IDE. It is something similar to that for writing ML code. And that is what ML and AI and deep learning code. Throughout this session, I would be using those terms interchangeably, and for the most part, it is fine, uh, because we are trying to learn things and we are not trying to get stuck up on the definitions. So excuse that. So for practicing that, you can use Python and Jupyter notebooks. And depending on what you are trying to build, you might have a different toolkit or a different tool set. And for utilizing tools in their ML job, I think the answer is pretty much same. It all depends on what you want to build. So if Arfa, if you have a question, or if you have a project in mind of what you would like to build, I could maybe give you a pipeline of how you might go through learning about it, or how you might build stuff. Yeah, I can answer that more effectively if you have an example in mind of what you want to build. So do you have an example?
I currently don't really have an example, but do you maybe any previous projects you've worked on? Could you maybe tell us about
Okay.
that experience?
Sure. So I'll talk about the project where I made AI to drive cars in GTA San Andreas, the game. So the first, so I started with YouTube. I came across the video by Sentex, and I learned from that video what I wanted to do. Then I moved to learning the Python libraries, which I needed to um, learn to build that. So the first one was a library to capture the screen. So I needed to see where the car was going, right? So I'm trying to build an AI to drive cars. So I needed to see where the car was going on the screen. So I built I looked up which library I needed to use for that. Then I figured out I needed to use TensorFlow to train the model. So once you collect all of the data, that is, once you drive the car around and tell and show it how to drive, then the car is supposed to learn. That is the way AI works, right? So I, I used TensorFlow to train the model, and then I trained the model on my GPU using TensorFlow or Keras, something along those lines.
But the thing is, Rohan, when you were talking about when you were answering the question, you talked about financial aid. That you maybe like give a more brief,
Oh,
like how
yeah,
did you
of
do it?
course. Okay, so once you go to any courses, or once you go to a course on Coursera which you want to apply to, there is this small text below it: apply for financial aid. You click it, and then they prompt you to send them a financial aid application. You tell them why you need financial aid. You just say you want to learn about AI, and you uh, are a student, and so you don't have the funds to support that right now. But once you do, you would like to donate to communities which help people with AI, or maybe even donate to the charities which Coursera supports. So you add that line. That always worked for me. And then you wait 15 days once you submit your financial aid application, and then they grant you a financial aid. It is pretty simple. So you just click a button, type something, and they give you a financial aid. And that is how I got most of my education. I'm really thankful to Coursera for having that option. It was super helpful. So to sum it up, the courses which I did, and if I were to pay them in real currency, that might have amounted to about uh, 30 to 50,000 in courses. But with financial aid, I was essentially able to do it all for free, completely free. So yeah.
Okay, all right. Yes.
And to add on top of it, currently Coursera is allowing students from various corona affected colleges to do a bunch of courses, and those are super useful. So yeah, so that is like a tip of the day thingy.
Okay, yeah, okay. Thank you for telling us about that. I think a lot of people who are listening to this and who take up these courses will find that very helpful, especially given the circumstance that we're in. But apart from that, Rohan, are there like any competitions or hackathons or any other platform of ML that you know of?
Okay, so for hackathons, currently there are there's one every month. So you can just look AI hackathons. You can just look it up, and you can participate in any one of them. And when you are in a hackathon, I participated in a few, and they were mostly through DevFolio, DEVFOLIO. .co or something. So they were mostly through there, but there are several other sites as well, and you can just find those easily from a Google search or through Twitter. That is a great place to find competitions as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so like, could you maybe tell us more about your experience? How was it?
Oh, okay. So I participated in the Twilio hackathon. That was in the month of June, I guess. And for that, I built a video streaming service with speech recognition, kind of an AI ish project. And so the pipeline was key. You first sign up to their login. You sign up on their sign up page. Then they add you in essentially a WhatsApp group. It is a different application, but the same thing. So they add you in this group, and they tell you key, you have to submit your project on this date. You have to get your outline submitted on this date, and you have to show the demo on this date. And you just start submitting the demos or the outlines and the text through their web UI, or a web application. And that is how you work on the project logistically. And for actually working on the projects in a hackathon, you can have your own team, and you can decide what you want to build. So for me, it was the video streaming application. So I went on, I started my research. I looked up what API, that is what service I wanted to use by Twilio, and I designed the architecture, and I started working on the code. There is not really much to it, Arfa, actually. So the way code and AI and all of this software development works is you decide what you want to build. And I'm sorry if that is too generalized, but you decide what you want to build. Then you search for examples of people who have already built those things. You understand what they have used. So if you are trying to build the next let's say the next Ola app service. So for that, you will look up what Ola is using, and then you will come across system diagrams of how Ola is structured. So they might have a mobile app that is built using Android. Then they have a backend which is built using Node.js. Then you start learning Android if you want a mobile app. If you want a backend, you start learning Node, and then you understand they are using the Google Maps API to find directions. And then you look up the documentation for Google Maps API, and then you're able to understand how the Google Maps API works. Then you move to the next thing, and then you move to the next thing, and just keep learning things uh, at a rapid pace and building uh, products while you are doing that. So it's pretty straightforward but complicated at the same time. Or maybe I'm not able to explain it clearly, but that is how the entire process has been for me.
All right, yeah, I think it's understandable, especially the part where you said that, it's better to find out how the system entirely works, because I think it gives you a brief idea, and it also enables you to enhance the features in some certain ways.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah. All right. So Rohan, do you know about any, I don't know, webinars, seminars, both online and physical, that are maybe going to be held or are held annually related to ML?
uh, hmm that is a pretty complicated question. So most of the top of my head, I'm not I there's none which come to mind. But if you go to meetup.com, meetups.com, I think it is meetups.com, and you can find a list of the developer meetups which might be happening in your area, online or offline. And you can search for webinars and seminars there. And um, you can also search for these seminars, workshops, and hackathons on Google. I know that is a generalized answer, but that is the way things are. I'm sorry about that. So, and also DevFolio. So, DevFolio is a good one to search for hackathons and webinars. And uh, okay, see, uh, the problem with webinars is they try to cram too much in a small amount of time. So I would suggest you just stick to the online courses till you have a, a pretty firm base of what ML and AI is. It is not super difficult. Anyone can get their hands on it. It is just static facts. You learn those facts and then you learn AI. That is basically it. It is nothing very difficult. So you create a base of these facts, and once you have those down, then you can search for these webinars, seminars, and workshops. uh, but personally, me, I have not engaged in too many of those, but yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, Rohan, thank you so much for joining us for this session. That was the last question of ML that we had. If you guys listening out there have your questions of your own, then definitely do send them to us. Maybe try commenting on YouTube. We'll definitely get back to you. And yeah, related to ML, if you want to see Rohan more often on the show and want him to talk more about ML, then definitely do tell us. So don't worry, this is not the last segment that we have with Rohan right now, but this is this is the end to our ML segment. So stay tuned for the next one, which will be related to jobs. So Rohan, thank you so much for joining us for this one, and it was really fun talking to you.
Yep, you too. This was fun.
All right, then I'll see you in the next segment.
Yep.